Hello everyone, and thank you for coming. This is intended to be the first in a series of, well, me talking about stuff I like talking about, almost always lore related. Some of you may know I like to give talks and presentations about lore, history, and all sorts of other things. Well, the idea is to expand this and do more structured presentation stuff. It's been in my brain for a while now. Let me have a way to do these Professor Olaf presentations and be able to do it without restricting myself to only SNK stuff. So I give you the very first of these, where I'm still gonna talk about SNK stuff. Today, we're gonna talk about SNK characters that could theoretically appear in Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, even if just as cameos. This list will be omitting characters from Fatal Fury and from Art of Fighting franchises, because, you know, that would be redundant. A few years ago, I gave a presentation on the fact that KOF is not the same timeline as Fatal Fury. Art of Fighting and Fatal Fury do share their timelines, as does Buriki One, sort of. Potentially a few others too, but you know, whatever. With this in mind, we will assume that the events in KOF, at least major ones, do not happen. No Orochi Saga, no Nests, no Ash corrupting the continuity by Back to the Futuring himself, and no Verse turning it off and back on again like some sort of Deus Ex Machina existential tech support. Geese stays dead, Southtown wasn't hit with the Hammer of Dawn, Ryo is still much older than Terry, and all is right with the world. However, we will be following multiverse rules kinda like Marvel. Just because X event didn't occur, doesn't mean Y person wasn't born. There could be an Iori running around who's just a humble musician with no Orochi powers. Still would hate Kyo though. We've already seen several cameos, including ones we can't 100% verify as hard fact, in the latest City of the Wolves footage. Some of my arguments may even use these assumptions as part of my argument, you just gotta hold that. At the end of the day, this is all just speculation anyway. Our list will be avoiding, the egregious bullcrap though, like no Sacred Treasures, no Bernsteins, no Nests, you get the idea. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see a CYS live in Southtown concert poster as like an Easter egg, but I can't, defend it. We will be focusing on characters that canonically can be defended, typically due to one or more of the following three characteristics: location, timeline, and lore connections. If at least one of these can be fulfilled in some capacity, they are valid. I also will do my best to avoid bias. Many of these I don't have a personal love for, but due to the overarching lore, it'd be really slick to take care of them. Alright, make sense? Cool. Let's dive in. First off, let's piggyback off of one of the most potentially exciting cameos in the game right now, Luong. While Luong is a KOF native first, her story is intrinsically tied to Southtown. She debuted on Kim's team in 14 with Gang-il, and in 15 her plot revolves around the Agent team and Hein, another KOF Southtown character. So with that being said, our first characters to examine are Gang-il and Hein. Gang-il, in KOF at least, is Kim's master. A rough and tumble, stocky badass whose training apparently makes Kim look like an easygoing stoner by comparison. If Luong's in Southtown, and if Kim and or his sons are in Southtown, there is reason to believe that Gang-il may pop up, and in essence be canonized within the Fatal Fury timeline. Even funnier, this could even lead to Kim maybe trying to hide his sons from Gang-il and protect them. On the other side is Hein. Hein is introduced in 14 as the new bodyguard / butler for Geese, when in reality he's a double agent trying to kill Geese in KOF. I previously had theorized he may be somehow tied to Kane Heinlein, the boss of Mark of the Wolves, and even without Geese, his intrinsic ties to Southtown may come up. I wouldn't expect him to be playable, but a cameo in the boss stage doesn't seem too unreasonable. You know what other game takes place exclusively in Southtown? KOF Maximum Impact. Seriously, it leans so hard into being Southtown, it actually just lies to you on the stage select. Yeah, that's right, Dotonbori, Osaka. It's actually located in Little Namba, Southtown, the whole thing. Even the river. And all the famous landmarks. Yeah. Nah, you know what? Sure. I'll go down to Southtown, hit up the Mega Don Quixote. Anyway, there are the 3 characters here to really dwell on. Like, sure, we could just look at all the MI characters and be like, ooh, what about them? But no. We've got 3 critical ones to discuss. First, Alba and Soiree. Protags, brothers, adopted in Southtown. Adopted dad was killed. Yeah, we've heard it before. But the interesting thing about MI is that its universe is also one where Geese is dead, leaving its timeline much more similar to Fatal Fury's than most. And, the plot of Maximum Impact 1 revolves around a new crime boss trying to take over in place of Geese. This boss was Duke. And if any of this story actually sounds familiar, there might be a good reason for it. That's right, folks. It's time for a little bit of conspiracy theory. Because you know what other game has a dead Geese Howard and an imbalance of power after his death? And you know what other game had a huge dude who was probably the new crime boss, and his name even began with a D? So Mark of the Wolves came out in 1999. SNK went bankrupt, opened Playmore in 2001, became SNK Playmore in 2003. Maximum Impact came out in 2004, but the data mined info for Mark of the Wolves 2 was dated June 2001. I'm just saying there's a connection. And I think there's a very good chance that Duke was a reinvented Dorvik. Yeah, this dude's name is Dorvik or Dolvik? Dorvik. Whatever, that. You figure out how to Romanize it. Which, also might explain why Rock was in Max Impact from day one. Anyway, enough tinfoil hat for the moment. I think Alba, Soiree, and Duke could all appear as cameos. And I know a lot of people who would actually appreciate seeing them again. You know what, for this one, I'm just going to cut to the chase. Yeah, Vanessa. I know some of you may be like, oh boy, my waifu! Yeah, I don't want her to be playable. But I need her to cameo. First, a small history lesson. Allegedly, when SNK was developing KOF 99, they decided they were going to add one Real Bout 2 character, which, is Rick or Shang Fei. They, for some reason, in their infinite wisdom, decided Rick was too boring and picked Shang Fei for 99. And then immediately developed Vanessa. A boxer with Dempsey-style weaves, feints, uppercuts, multi-hitting rush special. You know what, at least in 2000, she wasn't a carbon copy or anything, but you can tell she took some notes. Come KOF 2002, however, she outright stole 2 of his moves, Hellion and Gaia Gear, and never looked back. So, I just want them to acknowledge it, say, oh, she trained at the same gym Rick did, or some shit like that, I don't know. Just give us a Fatal Fury universe explanation as to why she has his moves. But you know what, that's not all. Vanessa secretly has another tie to the universe in KOF lore. In, those old team stories you could read online for KOF, KOF 11, the Agent Team story does something really interesting. Now, mind you, the localized version is kind of janky, and the Google Translate version is even worse. So I'm just going to give you the gist of the important bit. Mary, Ramon, and Vanessa are meeting at a bar before the event. Vanessa, completely out of character, orders something other than beer. She orders a drink with gin, blue curacao, sugar, lemon, and sparkling wine. Mary, of course, recognizes it. Is that a Blue Mary? Vanessa nods. Yeah, this guy at an agent convention showed it to me years ago. His name was... Mary just cuts her off. Butch. Yeah, you know him? Well, if you know anything about Mary, you know who Butch is and what happened to him. But this leads us to a fascinating idea. Vanessa knew Butch. And she's been an agent for a long time, and is known to be one of the older females in, well, all of SNK at the ripe 30-something. But this gives us reason to believe that she is far more connected to Fatal Fury lore than you might otherwise think. and it gives her 2 reasons she could pop up as a cameo. Now, this last block of characters shouldn't surprise you, but the characters I focus on might. Like, yeah, I fucking love Buriki One, and yes, I will take any excuse to see my homeboy Guy Tendo again, and he is the protagonist, he fought Mr. Karate 2 Ryo, but he's not the focus here. We're actually going to look instead at Payak Sitpitak and Seo Yongsong. I really hope I'm even close to pronouncing those names right. Payak is Buriki One's Muay Thai rep. In Buriki, he's approximately 40, which makes him one of the older competitors, but also legitimately puts him well past retirement age for Muay Thai. His story even notes how much of an exception he is, and that he basically just needs to stop. However, another noteworthy thing is that he and his family are fans of Joe Higashi. Buriki explicitly notes that it's Payak's sons who are the biggest Joe fans. But, you know, who's to say that he didn't have a daughter? I mean, if there's anything there or not, who knows? But I think between Joe and Preacha, Payak really should get to show up just to cheer on the next generation of Muay Thai. Seo Yonsong is the Taekwondo rep for Buriki One, and as such, you at this point should probably expect him to have some relation to Kim. Amusingly though, it's not that he trained with him, or even is a fan explicitly, but he's met the family. And let's be honest, not that many people have actually met Myun. This, like many other things, falls into deep lore created after the fact by SNK. If you don't know, SNK at its height, and even during the fall, used to allow online fan mail Q&A with developers or sometimes the characters. Many things that became canon, or at least fully accepted, come from this, and Yonsong meeting the Kim family is among them. He answered candidly that he met them, just had a nice time, and that's it. As I said earlier, if Kim and Sons are anywhere in this game, I can imagine that he'd be around too, just to, check out the event, cheer on the boys. Oh. Also, just as a quick aside, I will mention, yes, Kizuna Encounter does take place in Southtown in the far-off year of 20XX, and apparently noted as the first half of the century. So even if we take this at face value, City of the Wolves still seems to take place before the year 2010. Most of the cast of Kizuna Encounter hasn't been born yet. The most we can hope for is that, maybe we see someone who shares a last name with a character as like a throwaway gag. Or, maybe Kim admits to having a brother, making Kim Soo-il his great-nephew or some shit. If you couldn't tell, I'm rather excited for City of the Wolves. I get back my favorite singular fighting game universe, and the game looks fun as hell. This probably won't even be close to my only video just talking about City of the Wolves and about Southtown. But more importantly, this won't be my only video in this format. I have a lot of topics I'm excited to discuss, ranging from fighting game lore and backstories to Pokemon genetics, from the history of game mechanics to biographies of real people and their influence on the media we consume today. My next video will most likely just be more of a primer, defining certain concepts I'll be using a lot more in the future before I really get to work planning the next step in this project. But thanks for watching this far, and I'll see you next time. Also, if you liked this, you could always do the YouTube thing, like, comment, subscribe. It's good for the YouTube stuff. But yeah, you know what? Also, it'll give me a better idea of how this is going. So yeah, thanks.